Very quickly, your thoughts?
I disagree absolutely. Proceed.
Final story.
In fact, it's never been a question about who stands out unique in best radio programming.
So raise your glasses, folks. Ladies and gentlemen,
Samuel,
this toast goes to
hold on, Chief.
And it can never be a
Thanks for
question
joining us.
about who.
Mr. Jimoh, so glad to have you.
My
The
pleasure.
boss has told us a lot about you. He spoke earlier.
Don't mind this. How's work?
Fine, thank you.
You guys are doing a nice job there.
Thanks. Thank you. We're going to look at this from different angles. First-hand experience in the business, and then Samuel on the
Oh, why did you share this with me?
What's going first?
Sorry, studio. Mics are up. Good morning, Lagos, and thank you for staying there. You're listening to Smooth 98.1, Smooth Breakfast with Valentine.
And Ayo Mairo Ese. Good morning, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining us for our Lagos Talk special for the last day in the month of July, 31st day of the month of July 2019. Time check, it's 9:03.
That's right. And it's time for us to go into this conversation. It's a Lagos Talk special edition of the segment. And we have guests in the studio. Now, the focus will be on the conversation around the forest restriction on milk importation, to be or not to be. We have our guests, Mr. Jimoh Idris Adedeji. Jimoh Idris runs an animal husbandry business. Jimoh, welcome.
My pleasure.
You're the chief executive officer of Zumo Meat, as we hear.
Exactly.
So you've been in this business for how long now?
I've been on the business for like almost 19 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I was in the banking industry for like 13 years.
Why'd you leave?
Oh, well, I kind of want to fulfill my dream
Okay.
because I've always had a flair for animals.
Mm.
And I needed to like make it a kind of productive
Career.
career for myself.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you in the studio with us. And Samuel Bamidele is the head of research at Nairamatrics. So we'll have all our data with you at your fingertips. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio this morning.
Thank you.
Thank
It's good
you.
to be here.
Samuel Bamidele is his name. What's your Twitter handle?
That's Sammy Infinity.
Sammy Infinity.
Yeah, SAMMY Infinity.
Well, nice.
So to infinity and beyond. And if you'd like to join the conversation, thank you so much, Samuel
Thank you.
and
It's good to be on the
Jimoh Idris. Your first name is Jimoh,
Yes.
right? So Jimoh and Samuel for joining us this morning. We'd also love for you, Lagos, to join the conversation. So if you're listening to us and you want to be a part of the conversation, it's really easy. Phone, WhatsApp, and Twitter, as well as YouTube, are available platforms for you. For our telephone lines, you can call 0144 89981. That's 0144 89981. For our WhatsApp number, it's 0809 444 0981. On YouTube, search for us at Smooth 98.1, and on Twitter, it's at Smooth981FM. Use the hashtag Lagos Talks 981.
There was a statement that was released in a publication by CBN, the Central Bank of Nigeria, on the 29th of July. They said that there were attempts by some interests who feel hurt by the planned policy aimed at promoting the local production of milk to mislead the public by misrepresenting the unassailable case for investment in local milk production and the medium to long-term benefits of the planned policy. It sounds really nice. When we heard this news and we heard about the plan by the CBN, on forest restrictions. Some people misconstrued it to mean that they are banning the importation of milk, but it was really to stifle the access to funds by those who thrive on that business of importing milk and maybe boost local production. That's the image that the CBN, has tried to paint with this narrative. People have conflicting ideas as to why this is coming at this point. I'll throw the first question to you, Jimoh. I like how we started with the precedence of how you went into this business, the need for it, the desire to raise animals and all that. But how's that experience been for 19 years?
Well, the experience has been kind of awesome. It's been challenging, and at the same time, it's been very, very encouraging. Coming from where it is, there's a huge lot of opportunity in it, and that's why I try to like take it up, because We're not even keyed into the productive aspect of it. So it is very, very, very encouraging for me to have gone into it in the first instance and seeing the future in it. That's why I feel like I think I should just give it all.
Is today the future you perceived or you hoped for?
No, today's not the future. I'm talking about.
Not yet.
It's not yet. We've not even started because the gap in the dairy production is just too wide, and we've not even started at all.
So when you heard this announcement by CBN, how did that news greet you? Were you very excited or did you have concerns?
I was excited to some extent, but at the same time, the implementation of the policy is what people are concerned about. The stakeholders like us, it's a well-known fact that the backward integration policy of the CBN is a sure way to grow our economy. But the manner in which the policy is being implemented is the main issue we're talking about now.
All right.
Help us break it down, Samuel, please.
Yeah, well, interesting, and it's good to know. I think the first thing to state is that the fact that import is, really becoming worrisome in Nigeria, I think, is no longer news. Going by the statistics of the National Bureau of Statistics that was released in the last quarter, that was Q1 2019. The NBS actually gave us that Nigerian import is about 3 trillion naira. Okay, and it's huge, and it's actually increased by 4%. Within the last quarter. What is that telling us is that we are spending a lot of money. We're dishing out a lot of the foreign currencies or ad-end reserves to actually fund this bill. So import is rising. It's becoming really worrisome. And CBN has come and said, okay, guys, we can't keep doing this to ourselves, because when you look at the list of the import bills for Nigeria is a long list. We import a whole lot of things.
Yes.
So I think the backward integration started in 2015. When the CBN listed 43 items, and they said, CBN said, we're going to restrict Forex for this product right now. So, but I think before we even pick up the milk issue, it's important to review how the 43 items that have been restricted over the years has it actually worked.
Yes, that's a big question that a lot of Nigerians have asked. We know very recently or very popularly the ban on the restrictions to Forex for importation of rice and a few others. So people have asked the question. We're progressing with restricting Forex on importation of milk, which is vital. I believe that almost, if not all, Nigerian households, at least in these areas and some parts of the country, use milk. It's a commodity that is found in almost all our homes. What has been the outcome for previous restrictions, and what is, from an economist point of view, first of all, before I go on to obviously the agricultural viewpoint, is what has been the implication, and does it help in terms of improving manufacturing locally?
Yeah, well, thank you for that. It's important also that we carry out survey at Nairamatrics, for instance. Periodically we go to the market to find out prices of certain items, and rice is actually one of them. So we try to find out the locally made rice. Has the price been over time, and the demand? And interestingly enough, at the moment, the price of both locally made rice and imported rice is kind of the same in the market now. So now, and it comes back to us that are we really patronizing the local rice? No, the people still doubt what we produce here. Many people still feel that it's not good enough for us to eat. So it goes to a large extent to say that we still import even these items that have been restricted, for Forex. We still end up really buying them, and the CBN is coming with another item and say, okay, let's restrict. Now, the CBN's intention is really good. It said, okay, we want to bring this economic proposition of saying, okay, they basically said we spent about 1.2 to 1.5 billion to import milk, and that's a whole lot, considering the fact that our reserves currently stand at $45 billion. All right, and that's really so low. Though we are celebrating the fact that it's improved over the months. So the new policy of restricting Forex to milk is really a welcome development, but it's coming really sudden. I understand that the CBN is preparing for what is coming in 2020. All right, because you understand that we just signed the Continental Free Trade Agreement. All right now, and also the eco currency is going to come to play in 2020 as well.
According to them.
Thank you for that. You know, so this whole thing is coming, opening the Nigerian border, and the CBN is saying that wait, if we don't put certain items, under this restriction of Forex, then we are going to open the economy. The manufacturing sectors, the key players in the sectors are going to bear the brunt of opening the Nigerian border. So what CBN is doing is trying to prepare for what is coming ahead. But the FX milk, I think the CBN really needs to go more for a coordinated approach to implementing this policy.
I like that you mentioned sudden, because that is the way it's perceived, which is why I would like to ask Jimoh to really tell us, from your perspective, from your point of view, do you think we have the capacity to produce as much as we need?
No, absolutely not. We don't have the capacity to produce as much as we need. I'll give you a very candid experience. One of the major stakeholders in the industry, it took him like 9 years for them to increase their production, locally sourced production, for about 5,000 liters of milk locally to 43,000 liters of milk per day. It took them 9 years.
Wow.
So you can imagine the kind of gap. So, and that 43,000 liters that took him 9 years is just 25% of his total production per day. So the remaining 75% of that is being imported into the country. So now, if the CBN now restricts the importation on FX for that product,
yeah, they restrict the access to
yes,
Forex, yes.
exactly. So you can imagine the kind of problem it's going to create for the industry. There's going to be serious downsizing in terms of job employment, and a lot of revenues will be lost to the government and even some of the stakeholders that are involved in it. So it's not really the right time at all. What I would advise is that it's supposed to come in on a gradual process, and at the end of the day, reorientate the industry, the stakeholders, on the need for us to have a buy-in into locally sourced milk production. So that's the way it is.
Can milk be artificially produced?
Artificially produced. I don't understand what you mean by that.
From the lab, as opposed to from the cow.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It can't.
It can't. But the good thing is that we can actually improve on the production by genetically improving some of the cattle that breed it.
I like that you mentioned that. We're going to come to that, but we need to take a very quick break. Well, something for us to consider. Quick question though. Is any of you interested in politics?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We can do
Yes?
economics and politics.
Okay.
Yes.
Which is good, because when we come back, I'd like you to think about the possibility, or maybe what you think about how this Forex ban on importation of milk came into place right after the conversation on Ruga.
All right.
Let's take a break here. Smooth 98.1.
Wow.
Let's
You're
come back.
it.
What? Well,
Now you're the conspiratorial.
let's talk about that. There's the elephant in the room. We're looking for, we're talking about ranching and everything. So what's the real intent?
It's coming in because people are not accepting the fact that the Ruga settlement policy that was being initiated by the federal government, they have a mixed feeling about it. But at the end of the day, it's something that is going to really benefit a lot of people.
Okay, please hold that thought. We'd like for you to share that. Bring us back. We're back in 6 seconds. Studio is live.
Future forward banking.
It's Lagos Talks 981 special here on Smooth 98.1, part of Smooth Breakfast with Valentine.
And Ayo.
And this morning, joining us on the conversation around the forest restriction on milk importation, to be or not to be, we have Jimoh Idris Adedeji, who runs an animal husbandry business. He's the CEO of Zumo Meat. And we have Samuel Bamidele, head of research at Nairamatrics. Before the break, in case you're just tuning in, we'd had a general overview of the CBN's policy announced by its governor, Godwin Emefiele, on a restriction on access to forex for the importation of milk. Looked at the economic impact of potential economic impact. Looked at if we are ready or able to meet the demand from a farmer's perspective or an agricultural perspective. And we've also asked you to join in the conversation. Now, the cliffhanger with which we left on the first round of the show was the fact that Valentine drew our guests to the attention that this announcement came shortly after the legal settlement was suspended. Yes, when the suggestion was suspended by the federal government because of the outcry of people and the huge criticism across the board. So, I mean, there's a question around that. You cannot shy away from that. If you look at conversations that have come around this recent announcement by the Central Bank of Nigeria, people have also put it side by side with Ruga. And this is interesting because, Jimoh, you run a sort of ranching system. You're into cattle rearing. But before I ask you that question, let me let people know how they can join the conversation, because I know there's some people who are itching to either send a message or call us or send a tweet. We're live on YouTube, by the way, so if you'd like to follow the live stream, follow us on YouTube, Smooth 98.1, and on Twitter. On Twitter,
we're at Smooth981 FM. The hashtag is Lagos Talks 981. WhatsApp number is 0809 444 0981. For messages only, please. 0809 444 0981. You can also call 014489 to ask questions.
All right, so let me speak to you, Jimoh, about it. Maybe perhaps you tell us how you've run yours when you started, because a number of misconceptions around the whole Ruga settlement, around the whole, or maybe questions. Let me not call it misconceptions. People thinking, oh, it's a new development. Is it new? Have people already been practicing this style of cattle rearing in Nigeria? And what has been the experience so far? Is it good? Is it really being improved? Could government pay more attention? Please tell us your experience.
Okay, I'll start by talking about the way agriculture started, which Kendall said, because early on we were into wildlife. I mean, in terms of sourcing for products, people go engage into the bushes to take animals, and over time the world has evolved and a lot of things has happened. But the fact is that some of our indigenous participants in this industry have not keyed into that. They still believe on the old style of ranching, of grazing animals, and which at this moment is creating a lot of problem.
Yeah. And that's the traditional. So
yes, exactly. I mean, and by the time you look at it, it's not even productive. It's not so productive, because some of the animals we're talking about, like for instance, the white Fulanis are the major cattle that gives us milk in Nigeria, and the average milk production is just about 3 liters per day. Meanwhile, comparing it to a fish,
per cow.
Yeah, per cow. Okay. Comparing it to a Frisian breed, a Lexus Frisian breed, that will give you an average of about 40 to 50 liters of milk per day. You can see the kind of disparity in it. So, what other countries have done? Africa, kind of Kenya, Uganda, what they've done is that they've gone for seminars, they've gone for trainings on this, and try to get some of these breed animals genetically improved, and at the end of the day they are producing about average of 30 to 45 liters of milk per day. So what it means is that we need to reorientate some of these our stakeholders. I mean the elders, the pastoral elders, need for them to key into the evolution of agriculture in the world now, because there was one engagement with one elder in my ranch. The guy said he does not believe that about 300 cows can be housed in a very small space of land. He said it looks so absurd to him. And you know what that means is that he's used to the normal conventional system of grazing animals around the bushes. And at the end of the day, you know, there's no way it's not going to like affect some of the farmers that have planted their crops. Because by the time you herd your animals, the animals move in troops, you know. So they are going to get some of this farm destroyed, and at the end of the day, it's going to create a lot of conflict, and that's why you see a lot of security challenges coming up from. It has been on for a while, but all of a sudden it's just being pronounced, you know, because Nigeria, we always like politicizing things, you know. When the government is around, you know, we politicize it according to his tribes, according to his ethnic tribe, you know. So that's a major challenge. For instance, the last government that went, Jonathan's administration, what we were hearing then was Niger Delta militant, and when Buhari came, what we are hearing now is Fulani herdsmen, bandits, and all of that. So, you know, some of these saboteurs that are around that would not want the country to move forward would like just hide under some of these problems that have been on for a while and exaggerate it to a very large proportion.
Is this in any way related to what the new CBN policy portends?
Well, yeah, thank you. I just want to try and de-emphasize a little, try to connect politics and religion to this thing, because I mean, to see Nigerians are really going all the way to say CBN's interest in this forex restriction is just a way of trying to fund the Ruga settlement that was really suspended. I think I've had some of that argument, but I want to say that interestingly, Ruga has been suspended, but we still have the National Livestock Transformation Plan, which has been before the Ruga settlement actually went really viral. So Ruga suspended, but the National Livestock Transformation Plan is still on. And what some of these guys are saying now is that, you can't ban Forex or restrict Forex for milk if the transformation plan for livestock is still at the elementary stage. That let's drive this livestock transformation plan to a reasonable extent, and we know that we can fly with this, then you can introduce a restriction on Forex.
For the sake of those who are unaware of the livestock transformation plan, could you summarize it, for the average man to understand?
Yeah, but basically what the CBN is trying to do, or the federal government is trying to do with the livestock transformation plan is that, those farmers now, you have, your, the groups of cattle that you rear, the government is trying to say, we are going to fund you, all right, to make sure that because essentially what we want to do just to enhance productivity, of what these herders actually do. And don't forget that this issue of Ruga that was suspended because of the clash between the herdsmen and the farmers, the herders have said, scientists have actually said that the nomadic herders actually, if they are stationed at a spot, it affects productivity. Yeah, they said that because they don't have the funds to actually get feed. They can make these cows actually produce more. You get it now. So, and the government is trying to say, now we're going to make these things available for you.
But
so
where is the money going to come from? Are they planning to divert the funds that perhaps previously went into the Forex application, or rather granting Forex for the importation of these products that are now banned? Are they planning to redirect those funds to support productivity?
Well, but it's not out of place to say technically yes, right now, because this money is still coming from the government. Right now, so someone needs to fund it, and it's still the government, and that's why at Nairamatrics we wrote a report recently when the Ruga was suspended that it doesn't make economic sense, because it's the same fund All right, now you're funding just two different schemes, under the same, policy. You're just trying to divide into different schemes, and so that's why actually Nigerians actually kicked against it. Away from the region's perspective, it's so going to cost Nigerian a lot to fund this. And we also need to look at it that it's not really increasing the number of cows, as it were, because I was going through statistics and I discovered that the US actually has about I think 9.2 million the number of canary cows, and they produce the highest number of metric tons, I think about 92 million or so metric tons of milk. And when you look at India, for instance, India actually has more, about 46 million dairy cows, but they produce less, though they are the second highest producer of milk in the world. But it's not really about the number of cows increasing. Yeah, there's more to it, because what the Emefiele said is that you need a land. I think Nigerians actually took that out of context, that you need a land.
But it's not.
But he said it, yeah.
For in quotes, taking it out of context.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, Samuel, because I'm very interested in.
Sorry. Let me just for a second. We need to make clear what Emefiele said. He insinuated that all you need to get milk produced from a cow is have a land, have grass, feed the cow grass and water, and then you get milk.
No, that's not.
But go on.
Say that. But thanks a lot for highlighting that, Valentine. So you can understand people's skepticism when it comes to conversations around that and Ruga. I mean, we're not saying that there's anything wrong with it. It's just that people want to understand what's going on, and that's why I think it's really important that Jimoh is sharing with us his own experience. I'll still come to you, but I want to. You said something earlier, which I'd just love for you to break down a little bit further. You spoke about the fact that looking at the investigation on using rice as an example, where restriction had been banned, forex restriction had also been banned, and that going into the markets, the price for the imported rice and local rice probably is still about the same. What is responsible for this? Because what it means is that yes, you could have increased productivity locally, but the price does not change. One of the benefits of producing locally is for you to have reduction in price. So if you will go anywhere in the world, what is made locally is cheaper than what is imported, because hopefully it's made locally, you avoid things like tariffs, transport, etc. What are the challenges for manufacturers when it comes to, even though forex restriction has been placed on importation of that particular item, why is it still difficult for us to match price?
All right, thank you for that. I think the first thing I had to do this morning when we met is that how's the market like? I was really interested that we're into this thing, how's the market? And he actually gave me some of the challenges they're facing. But I want to come from this angle. I think Nigeria as a country is an interesting nation. We are growing, but we are moving at a very slow pace right now, because world over, we need to lend credence from what is happening between US and China. Okay? I mean, the global trade, or let me say the global economy, is actually, there's a paradigm shift away from using certain measures, monetary measures like foreign exchange to control trade. Look at what China is doing, and the US saying that, okay, you guys want to export every goddamn thing that you're producing here in your country to the US, but you don't want to get from us. So what they're going to do is that we're going to increase the tariff of, for instance, steel that you're exporting to the US. So it's about using the trade tariff now to control what you get back in your country. But because Nigeria cannot do that at the moment, because we barely produce nothing. I mean, I was looking at the data and I discovered that in the last quarter, Q1, our export was about 86% of oil and gas. Yeah, really, really low. I mean, our Greek is about 1%. Yeah, very low. So these are really worrying statistics, that we can afford. Now, concerning the issue of price, bring it back home, that why is the price of rice and this really the same thing? All right, earlier, actually, the price of locally made rice was actually higher than imported rice, interestingly, yeah. It just actually came down about a month ago. Went to the market, and the research team actually found out that the sellers said they're selling the same thing. They're selling both locally made rice and imported at the same price now, because people are not patronizing them. So they're forced to bring the price down. What the government should have done, as they do in other climes, is to subsidize this product, to the farmers. I mean, subsidize so that when it gets to the market, it can competitively edge out imported commodities. But we're not doing that. Now, eventually you're going to restrict forex for milk. 95% of milk that are produced in Nigeria, we have three categories. We have the pastoralists that we talk about, we have the commercial dairy farms, and we have the importers. And these pastoralists actually, they are the herders now, the Fulani herdsmen, right? They're the ones that actually do this, and they sell. I was seeing the documentary, and most of the sales they even make, is by they have this Fura de Nunu, they have these yogurts, they have these stuff that so 95% of what we produce actually here come from this guy. So the importers, the multinationals, we use this milk to produce other products, actually import almost 100% of what they use. You get it now. So so as we had a movement, it's really dire, because by the time this thing stops, this guy is going to bring into the country, because they can't trust the product that you're producing at the moment.
Let's hold that thought. Trust of the product, and I'm glad that a player in that industry is here. And I'm surprised that he hasn't given you, giving like, how dare you say that you can't trust my product? Because you are a player. We're going to go on a break now. When we come back out, we'll be talking to you, Jimoh. From your perspective, why can't I didn't say it, Samuel said we can't trust your product. Why can't we trust your product? And what will, help people? What will earn the trust of people in products made in Nigeria?
Keep your messages coming into WhatsApp 0809 444 0981.
Love music, love life.
Another aspect as well is the cost of production and manufacturing. That's I don't know how it's, because like you said, what others have also argued is, rather than this foreign restriction, why don't you provide an enabling environment for local producers to be able to compete favorably with international? Because to be honest, if all the systems are put in place, they don't need to ban forex, but ultimately your quality will be better, your price will be much reduced. Why would I buy imported? People don't buy imported because we like it. Yeah, some people like the idea, but trust me, a lot of people will buy it if the price is lower and the quality is still good. Because what people have said now is that because they can't meet demand, they're going to want to rush things out, reduce the quality, add more sugar so that we will not know the difference.
Studio time here is 26 minutes before 10 o'clock. It's 9:34. This is the Lagos Talk special here on Smooth 98.1 with me, Valentine.
And Ayo.
And we have a special guest in the studio to talk on the issue here. The focus of this conversation is forest restriction on milk importation. To be or not to be, our guests are Jimoh Idris Adedeji. He runs an animal husbandry business and he's the chief executive officer of Zumo Meat. Samuel Bamidele is the head of research at Nairamatrics. Thank you again, gentlemen, for coming to the show today to be part of this conversation. So you had a question for Jimoh earlier.
Yes, I have a question for you. We also have some comments as well. We'll take a comment very shortly. But Samuel also dropped a bomb before we went like drop bombs, go in a break quickly to digest it and then we'll come back. He talked about the inferiority of the quality of produce made in Nigeria. Now you're a player in that industry, would you agree to that or disagree? And if whatever your stance is, I would love to hear your explanation for your stance.
Okay. I'm going to disagree with him because producing locally, it's coming with its own challenge anyway. But the issue is that you can't totally trust what you're bringing in from overseas, But from the only challenge that I think some of us here are facing, and the public, in terms of the products, is the quality control that's being put in place. Because some of these production here needs to be really scrutinized, because it's not just anyhow. Nigeria being who we are, we always want to play shortcut to it, but at the same time, if proper quality control are put in place, I bet you production locally is something that is going to benefit a lot of people in terms of job creation and the product that's going to be consumed by the consumer. So
I'm invariably saying that NAFDAC is not doing a good job with that.
They are doing, but at least they can do better. So it depends on the government's policy in terms of regulating the industry in that area.
How about amenities that are available to you to aid business,
Production.
to aid production? The reason I'm saying that is because sometimes it's not the fault when you talk about people who are producing inferior products. There's such a huge cost of production that you try to still maximize profit and still make the price friendly enough for the regular consumer to buy. So in doing that, you sometimes you have to compromise on quality. Is that a factor as well?
It's a major factor because animal husbandry, being what it is capital intensive. It's serious capital intensive business, and it needs a lot of support from the government and some other private sectors too. But what we need as stakeholders in the business is that we need support from the government in terms of subsidizing some of the products. I mean, the facilities that are being used in this production. Then, secondly, is the opportunity for some of these products. By the time you produce so much, let me give you a typical instance. You have maybe 500 heads of rams or cows produced, and at the end of the day, because of the economy, what is going on around, people are not coming out to buy from you. So what you're selling out of the total 500 you've produced is just about 150. So you are left with about 350 in the farm. And mind you, these animals don't know anything other than for you to feed them every day and continue to service them well. So that's where the government have to come in. They have to come in and take off that product from you at a capped price. That's going to make you remain in business. You understand? But by the time some of these things are not there, so that's why when you want to expand so much, you are being restricted in terms of the availability of the market to accept your products. You produce also numbers of animals, and at the end of the day, you can't sell it off. So those are the things they are doing abroad. For instance, in UK, when a farmer produces X amount of a product in a year and is remaining some with him, the government comes in, buys it off him, and the capital is going to make him go continue in the business. By the time the product is being retained with you, and you're incurring cost upon cost year on year, it's not going to make it productive at the end of the day, business wise. So those are some of the challenges that we face in it.
All right, we'll have to take a break. We'll continue this conversation, especially taking your messages on WhatsApp right after this. You're listening to Lagos Talks 981. It's a special on forest restriction on milk importation, to be or not to be. Interesting conversation.
Hey, Dad. Dad, T-Buddy, wait for Dad. I'll be back. He's my instructor.
Trust issues can make you suspect anything. But when it comes to calls, that's all smart talk. Puts your mind at ease. So free your mind. Enjoy your favorite to call on networks. Plus, 7 hours of sleep. First call of the day.
So, what do you think? It's going to show.
Of course, there's no way. We can't be sure. We have
I think maybe it's just some, maybe it's just listening to
That needs
another
to be
station. They're not
satisfied.
That's fine.
something that amazing. So almost done. This is advert.
We'll produce it on this.
Is there any area that you would like us to cover that we haven't covered?
There's one that
There's
measures
a
how
prayer
far
to
you can throw your
the milk
one that
forest.
claims to guard belly fat which is a good vibration.
Exactly.
And one that allows you to
No,
communicate
well, I mean,
impulse. Yeah, if you're into that.
it's just that
I'm not here to talk about this. I'm here to talk about a platform that does everything your
issue
bank
of
does and more. It helps you send money to your loved ones
importation,
and be cardless withdrawals, so you're never stranded.
there are high
Even when you
times
need to pay for your
that we're
favorite
taking
outfits, events,
that
and
CBN is not
hostels.
following.
Limit your spending.
CBN is
Introducing the new study.
petrol. There are items
Hajj,
that we're
religious
importing.
pilgrimages.
Yeah, those
Talked
items.
about that. Instead of restrictions to
CBN
those
funds
ones.
people going to Hajj, Jerusalem, and the next thing is restricts fund for milk. Why? Why not these items are not imported?
Please mention this.
Exactly.
If not, I'll mention it. And I'll call you.
Set
Maybe
it
as
up.
a
Set
final
it up right now.
statement.
Yeah, as a final statement, yeah, in
that, you
closing.
know,
Is there some area that you would like us to highlight?
Yeah, the area I want us to highlight is the participation of youth, the productive labor force in the agricultural industry. Now, look at the revolution that came into the music industry. It
Creative,
came,
yeah.
yeah.
As a creative industry, yeah.
Yes, yes. It came up, back then during the prime time days.
Yes.
Kenny Ogumbe,
Yeah,
Alaidi,
yeah,
on the
yes.
street, and look at the years it took us. Nowadays, you're hardly listening to foreign music.
Yes.
You understand?
It's
So we
85%
can
of
actually do that
Mhm.
with the
Agriculture.
industry, with the agriculture, by promoting, by making it look attractive.
Yes.
Bring it out first, and it's up to you guys.
We're
You
coming back.
have to.
We're coming back on.
Okay.
Sorry. Studio's live. You're listening to Smooth 98.1. The conversation on Lagos Talks 981 special today is focused on Forex restriction on milk importation, to be or not to be. Our guest, Jimoh Idris Adedeji, the Chief Executive Officer of Zumo Meat. He runs an animal husbandry business. And Samuel Bamidele, who's the head of research at Nairamatrics. Samuel, with the conversation we had before the break, when Jimoh was mentioning the areas of products and services, you even alluded to that as well, that certain times, are questioned in terms of quality of these products. When I say you, I mean all of you at Nairamatrics. You have a term that you've coined for it, shrinkflation, a deceptive way of reducing the quality of a product, but putting the cost on the consumers. Is this something that's still existing right now in the agriculture business?
Yeah, to a reasonable extent, I think it is. And if the CBN, explain ignorance to this, then it's going to have a very critical downside effect on people are going to resort to poor quality of milk production because they want to sell, and you may not necessarily blame the producers too much because they don't want to run at loss. People are really Kebifeli said that it's going to provide jobs, but these things is not rocket science. Sometimes it baffles me when we just talk about job creation as though it's rocket science, that you just implement a policy and overnight 1 million Nigerians are employed. It doesn't just work like that. There are dynamics to it.
That's right.
All right, let's take a few comments. I'm mindful of the time, and we need to make sure that we get to as many comments as possible. So Una Agu Ibe says, why is Nigeria isolated when it comes to assistance? Okay, he's done that earlier on. He says, when I heard ban, to ban what you don't produce, you're creating malnutrition. The government only talks about ban, but they're the only ones with big cash at hand. Is it the poor that will build up an industry of what we don't have? Then ban is welcome. The CBN governor does not use locally made goods. Thanks. And it goes on to say there is no Nigeria policy that is good without stable electricity, because on a small scale industry that is based on generator cannot survive the environment. So all that government says is lip service.
And Yemisi here says Nigeria has no genuine excuse not to be self-sufficient as far as food items and agricultural products are concerned. The only comma that exists in this headsman wahala that has invariably given our local farmers the cold feet is practicing cultivation, where practicing cultivation is being restricted due to insecurity. When we're talking about dairy products, milk is a primary necessity because it is indispensable where growth from infancy to adulthood is concerned. baby milk shouldn't be banned, but adults can cultivate the habit of consuming substitute milk. Interesting. Thank you very much, EMC, for your thoughts that you shared on WhatsApp. This one from Onyekachi, thank you very much for your message. This other one from Austin Okota.
It says, yes, I am in support of the Southern and Middle Belt leaders, not... Oh, you're talking about something else, Austin, from our country. You're talking about the attendance at the Peace Summit or the Security
That's cool.
Summit organized by General Abdulsalami Abubakar. Oh, no comments, no name here. Please put in your name when you send in your comments. On YouTube, we have a comment. This one is from Adekola Olajiri. It says, subsidize. Is Nigeria a capitalist or socialist economy? Why would you suggest subsidizing when the government can barely cover costs with its current revenue? Yeah.
So closing statements from you, gentlemen. I would wish we would have more time to ask questions, especially as we touched on the very important aspects while we're on the break. But Jimoh, I mean, looking through your experience in the past 19 years, you had a lot of experience under your belt. We know that agriculture still receives less than 2% of attention from a revenue point of view. But what would you advise?
Well, what I would advise is for governments to buy into the idea of re-rotating the entire populace in terms of agricultural production. One of the major areas is the youth. You know, about 70 million of our total workforce. 70 million of our total workforce, you know, are constitutes of the youth, especially, and it's not attractive to them because what would they gain from it? You understand? But at the end of the day, look at the number of people that have gone into the music industry, even people that don't know how to sing, go there because of the attractiveness that has gone into the industry. You understand? So we really need to promote it, and it's cut across board, not just the government, you know. I mean, you journalists and some other private sectors too should come into, you know, at least we should be able to like promote it in such a way that it's going to look very attractive and for the upcoming youth to engage into agricultural production. And at the end of the day, you'll be wowed at the rate at which innovations will come in. You can see a lot of musicians in Nigeria coming up with different kind of stars, and you see before now, those days we hardly see duet with international artists, but nowadays it's coming up like.
So the same can be applied to agriculture.
Exactly.
To move it forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. Before we go, I just want to say that the word subsidy, because of the experience we've had, you know, in the oil sector, so Nigerians really don't want to hear subsidy.
It's an ugly word.
Yeah, of course. You know, but what I just want to say is that as been done in other climes, right? When you subsidize, ideally, when you subsidize commodity, what that does is that it kills competition coming from outside your economy. So people, because producers don't want to supply goods to the market where it will not sell. So you subsidize it. The local producers have market, then the exporters from other countries don't want to bring market in the country, then so stylishly you kill the product in your country. But final note, just want to ask that why did the CBN? Why milk? Why not other items? I mean, there are several items. Talk about pilgrimages, for instance, Jerusalem, people going to, you know, Mecca. Jerusalem, Mecca. You know, we have also petrol importation. It's interesting to know that in the last quarter, data on Nairamatrics, we have that 9% of our import actually is petrol.
And earlier this year, they were talking about promoting local production or local refining.
Yeah, exactly.
But that conversation, I don't know how.
No, you know, we keep reviewing. Tell us 2020 we have refinery 2021, but hopefully maybe 2021 is something. But other items that are not really important. I think we should just restrict Forex to them and we're good to go.
Thank you so much, Jimoh Idris Adedeji, the CEO of Zumo Milk, Zumo Meat. Thank you. And thank you, Samuel Bamidele, the head of research at Nairamatrics.
Thank you, Lagos, for being a part of the conversation today. This is when we close the curtain, but don't forget, Jeannie is going to be here shortly with Strictly So. Great programming throughout today, and see you again tomorrow morning with Smooth Breakfast from 6 a.m.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.